Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guessman, for show number 700. Welcome to a very special, probably a little bit longer show than we normally have. We have a lot to celebrate. Obviously, 700 shows right now. 701 on Monday. I mean, really, it's all going to go. But the LA Galaxy also clinching a playoff spot for the first time since being back there in 2016, so that's a big deal. The 2-1 win over Real Salt Lake, we want to talk about that as well. We're going to get you ready for the Vancouver game. We're doing all of that normal stuff, and we have 4 very special guests as well. 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, like I said, you might want to sit in a little bit on this one, relax, see how everything goes. All right. To help me out on show number 700, please welcome back to the show, Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira.
Woo-hoo. I'm starting with a round of applause.
Oh, thank you.
We've made it to 700 shows. I was going to say, I'm saying we, like I'm part of this. It's really you. So congratulations to you. 700 shows. That's no easy feat. So you said 4 special guests. Does that count me, or am I 5?
No, you're not special.
Or I'm not special.
Yeah,
I got it. I'm just a guest.
You're just.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, regardless. But still, happy to be here on the 700 show, just to play a tiny bit in the history of Corner of the Galaxy lore. I'm very excited to be here and be a part of today's festivities.
We're happy to have you. You know, it's fun to sort of look back. I told Eric, I go, if I get emotional on this, just yell at me. But it's fun to look back because whenever we started the show in 2009. Somebody asked us to do the show. If you haven't heard the story, somebody asked me and, at the time, Jared Dubois to do a show. They're like, hey, we need a Galaxy show, and we'd love it if you guys did one. And Jared said, hey, that doesn't sound like a great idea. Josh and I are more talkers, and nobody's going to direct. Who's going to direct the show? Who's going to do all this stuff? And I said, well, I'll give it a try, Jared. Let's at least try. So we tried. We did show number 1. Then we turned that in, and we're like, that was horrible. And then they're like, okay, great, do another one next week. And that's pretty much how it started. And that's how we've actually gotten to 700 shows, is we've just kept doing one every single week.
And that's actually the key to success. It's showing up, being there, repetition. And of course, as someone who's dabbled in podcasting, I think some people think it's just kicking on a mic, and it's not. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and the fact that you've made it to 700 is no small feat. Giving the people what they want, LA Galaxy News, doing it professionally, I think that's important. And I think sometimes when people listen to podcasts, especially with sports teams, they think, well, you have to agree with what the host says, and that's not necessarily true. I don't agree with you most of the time.
I don't.
I do some of the time, but it provides a jumping off point. It's good banter, and just the what it does for the club. I don't think it could be stated enough that this is an important show to the LA Galaxy, and you need to be applauded for it because you're the man behind it. The audio equipment, the production value that goes into it. This really is a top-notch program, and that's the last I'll speak highly of you because that's not our dynamic.
No, that's too much.
But congratulations. Yeah, it's a big deal to make it to 700.
I was going to say, if you're listening to this on audio, that's great. We appreciate you listening to it on audio. It's a great show, and we always try to make sure that being the majority of our listeners come from the audio side, that you guys are included in all this. However, if you were to tune into the video portion of this show, you would see that I am dressed up as a waiter. I have a bow tie on. I have my dinner jacket on. And certainly this is what I wore to my wedding. So I figured this will be the second time I've worn it. Why not?
He's got to get use out of it.
Break it out. So I got that. Eric, of course, in Galaxy colors over here.
I opted for the blue, white, and gold.
That's right.
But bow tie, formal wear. It's a special occasion. So that's the commitment to the live show on YouTube as well, is we go all in. There's going to be a lot of props today. So if you do listen on audio, go check it out on YouTube as well, because we're going to be doing a lot of bells and whistles, a lot of fun stuff going on video for all of our watchers out there.
Yeah, it's always fun. We always try to keep it good. All right, so I'm not going to bring on a first guest yet. We're not. I want to get a little bit into
this.
Are they
here? Behind door number 1. Is that not how this works?
That was everybody's like, so when is Zlatan coming into the studio? And I'm like, when I'm dead? I have no idea. When Zlatan's dead? That might be the only chance I have a chance. I'm also told that Robbie Keane won't be making an appearance tonight.
Well, technically, he's behind me.
I figured he'd walk in and scoff at the poster at least. So that won't be happening. But I do have I think some fairly good guests. Some from days of old. Some from today. So you're going to get a good mix of that, and we're going to play some of these interviews that we've had and that I've been putting together over this week, along the show as well. But I want to talk about the LA Galaxy's win over Real Salt Lake first. And this was a game that I told you, and the Panda told you on Monday, was not a big deal in terms of making the playoffs. It was all about seeding. Right, and it's if they wanted to, possibly get that third, possibly get that second seed, then this was a game that you wanted to win, and so that's where this is. And yes, the Galaxy could clinch a spot with a win, but if they lost this game, not the end of the world. It wasn't going to hurt them. In fact, this was the toughest game on the remainder of their schedule, so everybody sort of had this one circled. If indeed the Galaxy couldn't quite pull it off. Now, having said that, the Galaxy went and pulled it off. And not only did that, but clinched a spot in the postseason. We don't know where they're going to end up. There's 2 games remaining, still 6 points out there. So there's a lot of sort of good stuff that can still happen for the Galaxy. But in this game, in my opinion, Eric, the picture-perfect road win. It wasn't the prettiest thing you ever saw. It wasn't the most. It wasn't the best played. But there was effort on both sides of the ball. The defense played a very good game, and I will stand by that. I know people were saying, there were a lot of. You're gonna be pressured by Real Salt Lake at Real Salt Lake, and they missed some chances, absolutely. But the Galaxy did everything that they needed to do.
And I agree with you on that. I think when you look at the stats, they were outshot, they were outpossessed, and to be outshot, be outpossessed, and still walk away with 3 points is huge. Those are the type of victories that, I'm going to say it. And I know people might give it. Those are the type of victories that championship teams make.
Oh, he said it. He said it.
But because earlier in the season, I was kind of tired of seeing these results where the Galaxy dominated games with possession. They looked the better team, and they walk away with 0 points. We saw it away at DC. You saw at Colorado, they did enough to get a point, and then they got bent over a barrel by the refs and walked away with nothing. Right. So I'll take... they didn't play that well. RSL really lacked finishing ability, so they were a bit lucky in that regard. But again, they weren't great on the night, but they were great when they needed to be. The 2 stars, Christian Pavone and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, maybe they didn't have a great game on the whole, but they had 2 great moments, and that's all they needed, was 2 great moments from their top 2 players, and that was good enough to give them 3 points, which puts them in great playoff position. So I know you say, it wasn't crucial, but at the same time, a win, it's solidified it, and that's important. So just to get that monkey off your back. So these last 2 games, yes, there's still pressure because you want to have a good seeding, because you could get 1 or 2 home playoff games depending on how things shake out, and it kind of gets your monkey off your back. So yes, you want to win, but at the same time, you're already in. So objective is met, like Guillermo Barco has said earlier in the season. The objective was to get in the playoffs, and in that case, mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Absolutely. I thought Pavone actually played, really well. I enjoyed him in his spurts and the things he was trying to do. So I am not saying you're.
Well, I'll give you that. Pavone played. It just seems the chemistry wasn't there. He wasn't clicking with Zlatan. But Pavone as an individual performance, I'll give you that. That's fair.
So anyway, the LA Galaxy come out and get the win here, and you can certainly point to Antuna missing some easy shots. The fact that
we're not claiming him after some of those misses.
Poor guy. This is a kid who is 22 years old.
Yeah.
He's a Manchester City loanee. We know about this. There's all of these there's all these pressures on him, and he scored 3 goals in his last 3 starts. Now he didn't score in this last game, and that's sort of upsetting. Especially the one that he missed was really the layoff by Zlatan after Zlatan picked Anuaha's pocket on that one, and the wide open goal.
There was a lot of goal to shoot out, and it's one of those things that if you've played the game, you say, you know what, it's not that easy to make those shots, live action things happening, but you're right there with it. 6 or 7 yards out with an entire goal. That's a rough one. And when you look at Antuna, the types of goals he scores are kind of opportunistic. He hustles and puts himself in the right position.
Right.
You're not going to see him square up and line and hit a beautiful golazo. So that was kind of on brand for Antuna, that didn't necessarily have great finishing ability on those. So I know there are a lot of haters out there who want to say Antuna, he's trash, he's horrible. But at the same token, he puts himself in that position, and you got to give him at least credit for being there. But obviously, finishing left a lot to be desired.
Could you have made that shot? The first one
I could have, yes.
No, you couldn't.
Yes, I could have. Again, there's one thing, look at me, obviously, I've fill out the chair nicely. But one thing, if you put me in that position, I could probably do it.
I don't think so. I
I like those videos where they take fans
Yes.
who make comments on Twitter and
Yes.
say, "Here, let's actually do it." I could do it. I'm telling you.
Could we get a hold of Katie Nolan? Can we get a hold of Katie? She's the one who does those videos,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
And by the way, big fan of Katie Nolan. I really like her. But no, can we get a hold of, I want the hammer out there trying to make that same
Done and
play.
done.
There's also this thing that happens, by the way, and it happens in all of really the games that you watch, and especially from younger players, is that when the goal is wide open like that, and there's only one thing in the way,
Your eyes get drawn to it.
You tend to hit it at that, and I think it was Danny Toya who ended up stopping that. And I think it went off the inside of his thigh, and then inside of his thigh on the other side. Otherwise, he made a very good save. He may not be able to have children, but
I was say the inside of both thighs.
Oh,
Where exactly is that? Family show?
yeah, exactly. So anyway, so it, sort of did that. I mean, you have to look at the Galaxy being fortunate, and I disagree a little bit. And I heard some of Brian Dunseth talking and covering, and whenever you go back and watch highlights with the RSL guys, they talk about how lucky the Galaxy were to get at 0-0 at half, and I sort of agree. But at the same time, you go and look at the shots on target for Real Salt Lake, and I think they only had 3 shots on
forced.
target.
And it seemed like that may have been part of the game plan as well. The Galaxy were kind of in their shell and waiting for those moments. So it seemed like that. I don't, obviously we're in the locker room. We don't know what the strategy was, but it seemed like it was.
I was in the locker room, actually.
It was sit back and survive, and that's exactly what they did. And in the second half, the opportunities were going to be there because, again, when you have the talent that the Galaxy have, you're going to get a few looks.
That's the road mentality,
Yeah.
though. If the Galaxy have to go on the road in the playoffs, if they have to take that leap and win a 1-game playoff on the road, that's the performance you're going to get. It's not going to be the Galaxy dominating possession, and nor should it be on the road.
And if it is, I mean, we've seen that movie before. If they come out guns a-blazing, then they're going to fizzle and they're going to give up those goals late. So what you want is you want to sit back, survive, and then win your moments and then survive again at the end, which is kind of what they did. One thing we didn't mention is the goalposts. I don't know if
double goalposts.
Yeah, I don't know if David Bingham took both goalposts out to a nice dinner, but he definitely should, because that was an interesting sequence. And so when you talk about the Galaxy being fortunate to walk out of there, those are the types of things when you get the bounces, the ball bounces your way sometimes, and this was one of those nights.
It was. I thought Bingham had a good. I heard on the broadcast. Oh, Bingham's in no man's land on that one shot. The ball comes to the near post. The Galaxy don't keep anybody on the near post, so that's not it. He's in the proper position. He's moving towards the near post,
and it hit the post. So I mean, it's not like he hit it and Bingham was out of position. It just the way the ball traveled. It was kind of a weird deflection that it took.
Sam Johnson put a perfect little flick on it.
Yeah.
I mean, and how it didn't go in, nobody knows. Double post and it bounces out. That's an interesting one. That's certainly a physics-wise. You're looking at the spin on that ball.
I was going to say, that's one you show in class there to see, okay, what exactly happened here?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. So the Galaxy get to 0-0, then it becomes that RSL does not answer the bell coming out of the second half. I don't know what happened, and I didn't think the Galaxy were that much more energetic in the second half. I don't think anything was different from the Galaxy. I thought they played exactly the same, and that RSL dropped off, which shouldn't have been the case. RSL rested players against New England to come at this game against the Galaxy, and as Kobe Jones and Joe Tutino were saying, that's a great idea in theory, and then you have to put it in action.
Yeah, it worked for Montreal. They rested their players, and they ended up winning the Canadian Championship, but didn't work so well for RSL. It seemed like they were forcing it. The Galaxy, sometimes I've been critical that they get a little too cute with the passes, trying to make things happen, and I wish that they would be a little more direct and try to kind of force it. And if you get the lucky bounce and Antuna's there and slaps it in, then that's how you're going to get your goals. But it's when you see RSL do it, say, okay, maybe I'm happy that the Galaxy don't force it,
right.
And they do work their way and build up their plays to try to get that perfect shot, because that's how you're going to end up giving yourself a better opportunity to score, because RSL seemed to be forcing it.
They were, and I'll go back to my correct prediction on Monday, which was the field will be hard and bouncy, because that field is always hard and bouncy. That field it's a nice field. They do a good job.
At least it's grass.
And they cut it very short.
Yeah.
But that is as close to a turf field as you're ever going to get from a grass field.
There were some bounces, and the ball kept running on some of those plays. And I think Joe Tutino even mentioned it on the broadcast, that the ball just kept traveling, or maybe it was Kobe that mentioned it. They sent a long ball, and it just kept carrying, and then when you take the altitude into consideration as well. That ball will float, and then when it lands, it keeps bouncing. So that's tricky. But positives, it is grass.
Yes.
And it's not in a baseball stadium.
Absolutely.
So there's two positives right there.
Are you following the drama that's happening right now with New York City? New York City, they have all sorts of scheduling problems with their stadium, and if there's an MLS Cup, it
won't be there.
It won't be there
because the Yankees look like they're going to be making a run as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how they solve that issue.
Yeah, it
might be a blessing in disguise. Actually,
they're going to play at Red Bull Arena. You watch. That's where I would play it. I would force them to play. You don't have your own stadium, you go play in your rival stadium.
That's
go.
what you get. But do you allow that if you're Red Bull New York, or do you say no? You can't.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
busy. We're booked that night.
No, absolutely.
Taylor Swift's on tour.
If you're New York Red Bulls, you're like, yeah, we're already out of the playoffs, so it doesn't matter. Do whatever you want. So anyway, I mean, cart before the horse. But anyway, that's an interesting one to sort of watch. It doesn't look like the Galaxy have any scheduling issues. They also talked about scheduling issues in Seattle. They talked scheduling issues in Atlanta. All places that are supposed to have their own stadium that don't and share a stadium and are second tenant to an NFL team.
Okay, you said it. I didn't have to say it. The Galaxy is the main tenant. The Chargers are renting, and Atlanta United. It's the Falcons' home at Atlanta United rent space.
Yeah.
Same with the Seahawks. It's a Seahawks stadium. The Sounders rent space there, so they're not going to get first billing. So that does make it interesting.
Enrique says MLS Cup at Central Park. In Central Park,
might
that works.
as well.
Why not?
Worked for the '94 USA World Cup team.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen. All right. So now we get into the second half, and you have to talk about Christian Pavón because he's the one who really steps it up.
Pure hustle.
By the way, the header from Zlatan, just talk about it for a second. This ball gets lobbed up. Zlatan goes up, and he'd been fouled probably 3 or 4 times on the night, going up for balls that weren't called, blah, 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 same old story.
What else is
game.
new?
Yeah. And he goes up and extends this header and hits it in the most majestic way that you possibly can. It like skids off the top of his head, but it's also force there with some feeling.
Whenever he jumps up, you're getting force behind it.
He carries a lot of force. He's a big dude. So he gets that. The ball goes over his head, so he heads it back over his back, right to Christian Pavón. Pavón was ready for it. He knew it was coming. Everybody knew it was coming. Pavón then turns on the Jets, and I thought for sure there was a foul on the play whenever I forget who the defender was, but fell down, and I'm like, oh no, he's going to score here, and they're going to go back and pull this back, and it's going to be bad. And so he goes in. He ends up taking Anohu. What's his name? Wait, I don't remember.
Matter.
That guy who's
Let's talk about Pavón.
Yeah, whatever. So Pavón takes Anuaha to the line. He takes Raimondo to the line, and he hits a left-footed cutback across the grain to the far post.
Just enough to get over the line and get in that corner. It was beautiful placement.
It's about beating one defender, beating 2 defenders, and beating a goalkeeper, and doing it when there's no support. Nobody's following that. Yeah. Zlatan headed the ball. He was in midfield. He didn't move. I didn't see Antuna making a late run. This was all Pavón, and Pavón knew he had it all by himself, and then he took it in there. The Galaxy are so much better with Christian Pavón. Since he's come on, the Galaxy have scored 24 goals. Zlatan has 12 of those. Okay, since Pavón came in, and they lost the first game, which they shouldn't have lost.
He leads the team in assists now.
He's been there for 9 games.
When you think about how long he's played in 9 games and already leads the teams in assists, impressive. And what impresses me about Pavón, I don't know if you heard, but I'm Portuguese because they call me the Portuguese hammer.
Yes, I've
so as
heard
a fan of Cristiano Ronaldo, you're kind of used to the razzle dazzle when you see these players. And with Pavón, he's not really doing anything super flashy. The way he moves his hips, the way he's comfortable on the ball, he does just enough, does these turns, does these cuts, makes other players miss, and it's really it's artful to watch. And that goal is a perfect example because he turns, he wiggles, does just enough,
right, and
then he doesn't power that ball. He just puts the ball in the exact perfect spot. So he's really a joy to watch from a fan perspective as well.
Would you say his hips lie then, or do they not lie?
I was going to say Shakira in the news.
Yes, I know. Super Bowl halftime with J-Lo.
Yeah. That should be a good time. But I think his hips don't lie.
I think they do lie because people are trying
they're
to follow
deceived
him.
by him. All right. That's fine.
I mean, whatever you want. Anyway, so Christian Pavón gets that one. Then it is about the second goal and the hustle play on Christian Pavón. Again, I watched it live, said, oh, man, I think that ball went out of bounds. It's over the line. They're going to pull this one back. They don't pull it back. And you know what? It wasn't over the line.
Yeah. Again, just for all you rule files or whatever you call it, the ball has to be completely over the line. So
I don't even think it was halfway over the line.
Yeah, it wasn't. But I think sometimes if just the smallest sliver, you see it with VAR, if just the smallest sliver isn't over, it doesn't count. And I think some people forget about that rule sometimes.
They do. They forget about a lot of laws. Laws, Eric. A lot of laws.
These are the laws.
These are the laws.
And we are not above the law.
We're not. No. But again, you look at that goal and the hustle play, and then Zlatan, and you don't see it in real time. That ball gets headed. Whenever you see the reverse angle from behind the goal, they almost kept that one out.
Yeah.
that was a deflection, and it just barely tucks inside the post. It moved 2 feet. Whenever it hit his head.
If you thought Pavon's goal was well placed and where it landed in the corner, Zlatan's goal, where it ended up, I mean, an inch in the other direction, and we're talking about a tie game possibly.
Oh, well, and then the Galaxy do give up a goal. Late step.
On brand. On brand for our defense.
People Gonzalez comes in. I saw people tweeting about that. Gonzalez comes in and they give up a goal. It happens every time. And I'm like, and I look at that and I'm like, I don't know that I can blame her for anything.
I look at it the opposite way. Dave Romney starts again and you get another win.
That's
Kevin Baxter's Dave Romney.
Kevin Baxter, Dave Romney fan club president. Putting Dave in there. Now it was Dave's fault because he stepped a little late. Although he was also the deepest one back on that one. So as a defender, I'm like, hey, lay off on the Dave man, okay? But then you get what you knew was going to be 5 minutes of stoppage time.
Yeah.
I was like, it's going to be 7 minutes of stoppage time. This is it. I mean, you're seeing it, and RSL certainly gained some traction there. If you look in the second half,
because they had to.
They all domination. Okay, so you talk about possession, and certainly RSL gets the lion's share of possession, but just barely. This game is so even, and you look at the second half, and it was all RSL in the second half outside, and that's when the Galaxy scored their 2 goals.
Well, it's counterattack. When do the Galaxy lose their games? It's when they're dominating, and then the other team goes back, gets 2 chances, and beats them. And that's exactly what they did to RSL. One of your favorite things that you like to look as those 5-minute intervals.
Yes.
And RSL had the majority of the possession on those 5-minute intervals.
They did. They absolutely did. Missed chances for RSL, though, only 1. Missed chances for the LA Galaxy, Uriel Antuno, with 2 of those. And Zlatan Ibrahimovic had 1. That was the header right at the end of the first half. I think right at the end of the first half or right at the...
Yes.
Yeah, right at the end of the first half.
A little bit over the bar, yeah.
That was a plate. That should have been in the goal. I mean, and we've seen that. This, if you're looking for any...
That's vintage Zlatan, towering over the defender and burying that. So interesting to see him not put that away.
If you are looking for any red flags from this game, it's that Zlatan now 2 games in a row has not been as sharp as I think we've expected him to be. He missed a curling shot that he usually puts in as well. He misses that header. Now, that being said, he scores a goal.
Can't get mad.
The man of the match in my mind is clearly Pavon.
Yeah.
It's not even close. Like, okay, great job. Thanks for showing up, Zlatan. You did great. You scored a goal. But Christian Pavon made all that happen.
And that's fair.
Okay.
No one's going to argue there.
No. Oh, what are you talking about? Nobody's going to argue.
It's one of my favorite lines. No one's going to fault you there.
That was one of the big arguments was some Eurosnob was watching, and I was on Twitter, and some Eurosnob was like, the commentator just said, I can't do a good Eurosnob imitation. So, the commentator just said that Jonathan Dos Santos is as important to the LA Galaxy as Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
That's your take.
And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, that commentator would be 1,000% correct. I'm like, he is as important. And if you looked, and they commented, Kobe Jones pointed it out great. In the second half, once they score the first goal, Jonathan Dos Santos doesn't go forward anymore. He is now cemented to that back
sits
line.
Back, finds the outlet pass. And I go the other direction because I think Zlatan is the most important person on the team.
Absolutely.
But yeah, JDS is a crucial part of the team.
Yeah.
So again, probably someone who doesn't watch the Galaxy regularly if they're gonna question that.
Zlatan fans, whatever. It's fine. That's good. Everybody's welcome. Everybody, come on in.
That's the other thing. I mean, I get it when you're not firing on all cylinders. You want to be critical of your team, but at the same time, be patient. Do you think? Here, let me ask you a question. Do you think Zlatan is graded on a curve? Do you think people, because he's Zlatan and because he does magical things, do people expect too much of him?
No.
No,
can you expect? That's the whole thing. I mean,
because he should be he should be scoring a hat trick every game.
Pretty much.
Is that fair?
Yeah,
is that a fair criticism?
It's you've seen this. Did he not have a chance for a hat trick in this game?
He did. He has a chance for a hat trick at every game. But do you ask Chris Wondolowski to give you a hat trick every game?
Chris Wondolowski was suspended and cheering and taking his shirt off in the fans, which I think everybody thought was adorable. Which is adorable, I guess.
He was doing Chris Wondolowski things. That's way too much Chris Wondolowski talk.
Whatever.
That's my fault.
That was you. That was on you. That wasn't on me. I didn't do that.
Bottom line is you wouldn't expect that of him because, he's Chris Wondolowski.
Okay. If you say so, I'll trust you. So anyway, Galaxy get the win. Overall, I think a pretty good job. I think their biggest issue here is that you're still bringing Carrasco into these games.
The bench left a lot to be desired. I was thinking about that at the half, tied 0-0, and you look at the bench, and if you need something off the bench, it wasn't going to come. The starters are going to be the ones who need to deliver, and thankfully they did. But that is something that could be a little scary, in the playoffs, or when you really desperately need something. If you're down, your back's against the wall, who can you call on to provide a spark? And I don't know that player's on the bench.
Everybody in the chat room currently is talking about my Euro snob accent that I can't do.
Was it? I didn't even pick up.
It was a little my Euro snob.
A little pinky in the air.
Oh yes. The guy wearing the dinner jacket says.
Well, actually, in Europe.
In Europe, the winner of the league is the champion.
We're going to have that discussion.
I called it how many months ago? I said, there's going to be people talking about how the Supporter Shield is the winner of the league. Champions. Oh, okay. Okay,
it's an accomplishment, but let's not act like it's something other than what it really is.
Sure. I mean, whatever you want to say, guys. Everybody has been there before.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Well, not everybody. There's some people who just found out this year, and they're going to learn. They'll learn if they stick around for longer than a couple of seasons. But, it is what it is.
LA Galaxy get the 2-1 victory over Real Salt Lake. Zlatan Ibrahimovic scores another goal, moves him momentarily was within one goal of the crosstown rival Carlos Vela there. Vela gets a PK, so that keeps it at 2, but they're still 2 separated.
Yeah.
And so, if you're looking at it, Vancouver.
And if the shield is locked up for those other guys, maybe I don't think they're
going to chill, right?
Yeah, I don't think they rest their guys. But, hypothetically, it could be an opening for Zlatan to step in and pass.
Oh, it'll be interesting to see how that all goes. That Golden Boot race, still one of the most entertaining things about the end of these last 2 games. Galaxy will be playing for seeding. We'll talk a little bit about that. But you know what I want to do? I want to get to a special guest.
Ooh. Who's first on the list?
First on the list.
Who's behind door number 1?
Well, let's find out exactly who is going to be first on the list. Show number 700 here at Corner of the Galaxy. Recorded a little bit earlier, so let's get to special guest numero uno. All right, let's switch gears a bit and welcome a very big guest to show number 700. He was named the general manager of the LA Galaxy on December 11th, 2018, and since then, he's hired head coach Guillermo Barros-Schelotto, brought in players like Diego Polenta, Fabio Alvarez, Joe Corona, Uriel Antuna, Pipo Gonzalez, and maybe most famously, Christian Pavone, just to name a few. He's had a very busy first season with the LA Galaxy, and that isn't over yet for sure. Welcome to the show for the very first time, LA Galaxy General Manager Dennis Kloese. Dennis, thanks for stopping by and calling in.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and congratulations on the huge amount of shows already.
Yeah. It's a little crazy, Dennis. Maybe I went a little overboard whenever I started this in 2009.
I don't know. You expected coming to 700 shows?
No, I didn't expect to get past show number 2. So 700's kind of a surprise.
Yeah. Okay. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Well, you've had a very busy reintroduction into Major League Soccer. Has it been easier, harder, or maybe what you expected when you agreed to take on the job with the LA Galaxy?
I must say that I'm lucky to have a good amount of support here. There is a particular amount of rules and regulations that you really have to get used to, and probably by working with it and through it, you'll get used to it or probably more experienced on it. I must say that there's a whole lot of rules that the first time I had an idea on what the league was about, but that was such a long time ago, 2005 to 2008, has changed enormously, as also the league has. And there's some familiarity, but there's a lot of things now, obviously, that we had to go through to be able to make some roster improvement or changes, or however you want to name it. But there is a big challenge, obviously, working in MLS with rules and regulations. But I must say I have a good team of people here that really support and that are very knowledgeable about it. So that helps a lot. And obviously, I do my very best to understand and to work through it and make sure that we get the results that we want out of these numerous trades and transactions and rules and everything else.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's sort of where my next question would even want to go to is there are a huge amount of, there's a huge amount of complexity to the MLS roster rules. You seem to, and your team seems to have, a knack for applying them correctly. You're looking at, Julian Araujo and sort of understanding, what the academy rules were with that. And then, bringing him in outside of that or bringing Pipo Gonzalez back into the league, which was not an easy transaction either. Do you thrive on the complexities of MLS, or is it more of a headache than it should be?
No, I think it's a little bit like they're out there, and it is what it is. So you have to work through it, and there is a lot of things that before you honestly move to a player or to a club or with an agent, that you actually have to think through a lot of things here. And on one end, that makes it obviously challenging. On the other hand, it does give a lot of restrictions and doesn't give you a lot of flexibility that, for example, in other leagues or in other countries is a little bit more common. And there is obviously difficulties to, I think, even explain it outside the league or to somebody that is not so familiar with TAM rules, GAM rules, if you can spend this or you spend the other, the homegrown, the waivers, the allocation list, everything else. And I think that is, on one end, the challenge. On the other end, you know what it is when you step in, and you better be good at it because everybody else dominates the rules also. So I think it's something to be as much as you can on top of. And in the end, I think we've worked through a whole lot of rules this year to get to where we're at, and makes it obviously positive that a lot of these players have panned out so far in a positive manner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know there's all this overhaul, and certainly the roster overhaul. I mentioned a whole bunch of players that you've brought in. The Galaxy have been able to acquire, just in this season. There's probably still areas though that you'd like to address for next season. What areas do you think that you really want to focus on? And really, I mean, the bigger question is, because a lot of that might be unknown, is how far ahead do you have to plan for things like player acquisitions? And are you already trying to formulate some ideas about what next summer looks like, and you're not even done with this season yet?
Well, it's difficult to plan a lot ahead also because the different transfer windows in MLS and outside of MLS, most of the transfers in the rest of the world happen during the summer, and here obviously the busiest time is probably December, January, and February before the season starts. That makes it somewhat challenging also with players that obviously come from outside. I must say that we have weekly meetings with both the coaching staff and front office or technical staff or soccer operations staff here to go over everything that we need going forward, evaluate what we've done, what we probably could have done better in the future, where we should be better and where there's still room to grow. Now to talk about specific positions, I think still is a little bit early, more so with the important games coming up. But I must say that for a number of players coming in new in this league, new in this club, I think by now you see them settling in a little bit more. And we hope that in a lot of these cases that they'll even have a stronger season next year if we can keep a lot of guys together with hopefully the positive results coming up. And then I think we can build on that.
Yeah, I mean, you have seen guys adjust quickly this year, certainly. I think Christian Pavone is one of those we were just talking about on the podcast recently that, you talk about players usually having to come in and adjust, and he's one of those players who's come in and has, I think, 6 assists, 7 assists, and a goal in his 8 games that he's played so far. So a guy who seems to be adjusting quickly, and I think that you guys probably think that there's the higher ceiling for him next year as well.
Yeah, but obviously he's a player that I think is well known and has been scouted over the last few years by different clubs, and it's something that I think is still challenging coming into another league, even with the quality that he has or the games that he has under his belt in Argentina and on the World Cup. But still to step into another league with new teammates, with a new environment, bringing out your family. settling in an area where the culture's still different, and it's probably easy to adapt to. That is something that is obviously positive for us. But I think it's positive that he actually produces on the field, and we hope that in the upcoming 3 games to finish up the regular season, he can be a big influencer. And for sure, I think he gives us something extra up front. And but I must say that there's other guys that have stepped in this year, other players that were here that have been also obviously very positive, and they're in their numbers and everything else over the entire season. And I think now we come to a point that these games, they really matter, and that's something that we're very much looking forward to. And in the case of Pavon is maybe the most outstanding one, but also the adjustment of Joe Corona, of Antuna in the last few weeks, that he's after the Gold Cup, I think really took a step forward. Probably Diego Polenta, his way also in adapting to the team and the circumstances, the language and everything else is in an upgoing spiral. So that's something that we're very positive about.
I mean, are we even getting ahead of ourselves? I know I like to think, and I certainly think that you've talked about a roadmap or a plan that you have going forward, but is that plan or roadmap, is that sort of a little bit on hold more than anything with the collective bargaining agreement that still sort of has to be settled between the players and the league coming up here after this season concludes? Is that a bigger planning obstacle than maybe most people would think it is?
I think most of the clubs are looking at it, what to do, what would be like good decisions to take, because in any change on the roster and with the salary cap and the rules, normally you would have like a decent increase or a normal increase on the salary cap, but now there's obviously still some questions on where it goes with GAM and TAM and these technical things, and I think that leaves everybody a little bit in the blind. On the other hand, you can't stop planning, and you can't stop just saying, hey, then we'll wait until what happens, and then we'll see what goes on. No, we obviously need to be very proactive on our scouting, as we've been. We need to be clear on all the depth charts that we have, from the first team, the second team, all the way down to the academy, and which players in the upcoming year and the years after need to be taken care of. Obviously, now with a coaching staff being here for a year, or with a clear idea on our current roster and the evaluation on all the players, I think there'll be a healthy discussion after the season also. And I must say that everything that goes towards the CBA, and to be honest, if we need to be respectful towards that also, because it's for the benefit of the players, and in the end, they're the main actors here.
Right. Right, makes sense. You know, you touched a little bit on scouting, and I'll say that, you know, having covered this team since 2009 and watching it all through all the up years, the down years, the scouting always seems to be this big question mark, and not so much that it's not being done or that it isn't there, but that it's not talked about, and that it seems to be always behind a sort of cloak. So, you know, no one really knows, and can you give us an idea of whether or not the LA Galaxy are ahead of the curve on scouting whenever you came in, or are they behind the curve on scouting? You know, where did they sit in terms of MLS, and is MLS as a whole, you know, sort of behind the curve on scouting as well?
It's difficult to say, and to be honest, obviously I come from a different environment where I worked in the last few years for national teams. If you compare it to the team I worked for in Guadalajara for Chivas, it's very different, because they rely highly on their youth development and only on Mexican players, obviously. In Tigres, it's probably more comparable. They're a team that can attract big talent, and that goes a lot to different markets. I think we're in the process of formalizing. I think we have a whole lot of good assets with good people, with tools like, you could say Y-Scout and all these modern tools that you can track players and stats and data, and I think there's a whole lot of things, but it needs to be more institutionalized, and I think we're in the process of doing that. We're very active on watching games. We're very active on traveling. We have a lot of people that give us information. I think we obviously are very happy with the network that our head coach brings to the table, and the case of South American players and players that he coached and where he coached against, and the knowledge of the game in different countries. In my case, I've traveled and we've competed in the last few years internationally. I think I have very good contacts and a good network, not only in Central America but also in Europe. And there's always ways to improve, and there's always ways to probably better assess certain decisions in any organization. But I've seen from up close of big organizations where they currently stand, and I think we're not so far away from that. I think also it has to do that MLS obviously little by little internationally gets a far better image, and there's more interest, and there's a different kind of player now being attracted to the league, so it makes it more interesting, and I think it gives you a wider panorama of players that there's that you can speak to that would be open to coming into the league. On the other hand, I think it's still a detailed process, and it needs to be very well communicated internally with all the executives that obviously I need to report to, the people that work for me on the soccer operations side, and obviously most and foremost with the head coach and his staff, so that when we bring somebody else, that we have a clear idea on what the technical and tactical capabilities are, but also as a person and off the field how they represent our brand and our values.
Well, I don't want to hold you up too long here, but I do have one final question, and I don't think we could leave without talking about Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He's been an outstanding in his nearly 2 years here with the LA Galaxy, but at almost 38 years old, and I say that laughing because I'm also 38 years old, but at almost 38 years old, the Galaxy, can you still count on him in 2020? Is that decision something that has to wait until the end of the season, and is that a two-party decision? Is that Zlatan and the LA Galaxy?
Yeah, I think you're correct. We've not discussed anything beyond this season. I think his focus and our focus are obviously mainly on positioning ourselves in the right way in the regular season. And you see that he's eager to achieve something. And you feel in training and that it's closer to ending the regular season, that he's eager to get results for the team, most and foremost, and obviously he's in the running for scoring a decent amount of goals more. And I think everything that goes towards the future, or everything that goes towards his staying here, that needs to be positioned after we played our last game, and that hopefully is in November, with a good conversation. He's a very, very mature and very good guy to sit down with, and he obviously, with the knowledge about himself and where he stands and what he wants to do, I think it will be a good conversation where everybody within the club will be positively involved, and we'll see what happens. But I think we're focusing on tomorrow, and then on Vancouver, then on Houston, and we trust on having a great season after that even.
Well, that's great. Dennis, we want to thank you for coming on the show. Wish you all the best of luck with the LA Galaxy's last remaining games here, and I'm sure we'll have you back on the show here very soon.
Yes, always welcome. Thank you very much, Josh, and congratulations again.
All right, thanks, Dennis. All right, Mr. Dennis Kloese, General Manager, LA Galaxy. That's Hammer making noises over here. He's got a.
That's why I gotta watch the video.
He's got a party favor, and he's going. All right, so big takeaways for Mr. Dennis Kloese. One is that Dennis should absolutely have his own podcast.
I think if you're an MLS diehard and you want to know the ins and outs of what a general man, I could listen to him talk all day.
This is Dennis Kloese coming to it's DTK in LA talking PKs. I don't
saying the Galaxy are going all the way.
All the way. Yes. See, I mean, we could write this for him. We're available for Dennis if he wants to go ahead and lift that podcast cup up over his head as well. So we can do that. My other big takeaway from this, and obviously I think there were some excellent questions asked.
Who fed you some of the questions though?
Yeah, you did. You did a good job. So I'll tip my hat to you.
But it's all you.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
It's the delivery, really. It's what it's about.
Take your victory lap.
Nobody cares who wrote the play, all right? It cares who delivers it, okay? That's how it works. I mean, who cared about Shakespeare? Nobody. So my other thing is that if you listen closely, you could hear that Dennis Kloese said, I was correct. So I was correct. Dennis Kloese said I was correct about something, and that's all that matters to me.
It was about Zlatan, but also I had a different takeaway.
Oh, okay.
DTK
Yes.
called it GAM.
No.
General allocation money. There were a couple occasions where he referred to it as GAM.
As GAM.
So I think if DTK says it's GAM, it's GAM. Moving forward, that is the official name. So case closed. Thank you.
No.
Good night, everybody.
No, that's not. No, it's the language barriers. English isn't his first language. And
but still me.
That's an English word that he's trying to. He didn't get all the pronunciations right. I mean, come on. The guy only speaks 4 languages, so I mean, I can barely speak one.
Well, I'm going by what my general manager says.
Okay, good. I'm glad you wanted to do it. We could talk about other things, but I feel like everybody's sort of in the guest mode now, and I feel like, being we have 3 more to get to.
I go, it's a lot of guests.
It is a lot of guests.
You did a lot of hard work to land all these people.
By the way, people were asking and sort of talking in the chat room. I did talk to Dennis on Tuesday, so it's Thursday. So he didn't know the Galaxy were going into the playoffs. I didn't know we tried to sort of just pretend like we were a day later in order to make it all work. But that's what we have to do. I couldn't do all these interviews today.
It'd be interesting to have done this live. Yeah. Coordinate all these guests calling in.
It would have been a lot of fun. All right, let's get to number 2. This one, little blast from the past. We're
on the edge of our seats. Who's it going to be?
I don't know. Let's get to interview and special guest number 2. But before we go much further, we have another 700th show special guest on the line. He was a member of the Galaxy twice. He won MLS Cups with the club in 2005, 2011, 2012, 2014. People are starting to guess. And in total has 5 MLS Cups to his name. He is, at least in my mind, one of the best left backs in Galaxy history, and is currently the general manager of the Sacramento Republic in USL. Welcome back to the show, a good friend of the show, Mr. Todd Dunivant. Todd, thanks for stopping by, buddy.
Hey, Josh, how are you? Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you on. I thought it was interesting. I reached out to you and wanted you to come on the show. I was thinking back. We started the show in 2009. You rejoined the Galaxy in 2009 after Bruce Arena got you back in LA. It's been a long journey for both of us, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, congrats. That's a remarkable 700 appearances. Even I think Nick Raimondo would be impressed with that. I mean, just having that kind of longevity and being a part of it, being part of the Galaxy family for that long, that's huge. And you've made a big impact. So congrats.
Thanks for that. But I mean, okay, let's go back to you though. In 2009, you come back to the Galaxy. You won an MLS Cup with the Galaxy in 2005. You go off, play with some other teams. We'll shorten it a little bit, but come back to the Galaxy. What were your thoughts, in 2009 coming back to that Galaxy team, and then sort of looking ahead all the way through, 2014, even into 2015? Did you ever imagine that team and what was being built in 2009 would sort of arc in that direction?
That's always the hope, and that's always how you draw it up. And I was fortunate. I actually had the chance. I came from Toronto and had the opportunity to kind of choose where I wanted to go. There was several teams that were possibilities, and ultimately it was a pretty easy decision to come back to the Galaxy to be in a place that I always felt like was home to me. And Bruce Arena was sort of starting anew there, and that was what was alluring to me. Is he was bringing a lot of veteran players, a lot of players that really added to the culture and brought the Galaxy back to kind of where the club always felt at home, and that was competing for trophies and winning, and just being a part of that culture. There's nothing better.
Do you have a favorite Galaxy memory? Is there something that sticks out in your mind whenever you think about being in the Galaxy crest and sort of representing the team? Is there one moment, or is there a bunch of things?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So many good memories. For me, the 2011 season was such a highlight. It was from start to finish an absolute near perfect season. Right. We won everything you could win that year and advanced in Champions League, and for me personally, it was my best season. So all around, met my wife that year. It really couldn't have been much better. So 2011 would probably be the highlight for me, and I still think, one of the best teams that this league has ever seen.
Do you still remember all those MLS Cup games? Are they still, in your mind as sort of individual games? Do you reminisce about those at all?
Yeah, I mean, that's the fun part when you're done. Like, you forget all the bad stuff and you remember all the good. I definitely blocked out 2009. That never happened against Salt Lake. But no, I think that's the fun part. Is you always get to kind of go back and remember the good times. Even being back earlier this year for Beckham's statue unveiling, and just seeing, him and Mike Magee and Robbie Keane and Kobe and some of the old teammates, Alan Gordon. It was special. It's special to just be a part of that, and those bonds and, those championship teams, you never lose that. It doesn't matter what everyone's doing in their lives. When you come back together, it's just like you're back in the locker room, as if that moment was frozen in time. It's special. There's nothing like it.
The best player you ever played with on the Galaxy, to put you on the spot?
That's brutal. What a question. I'd say overall that, the best teammate, the guy who, if you're starting a club, you got to choose Landon Donovan.
Mm-hmm.
He wins everywhere, in everything he's done. He won 6 titles in the league, and it's just an absolute great teammate. I think, being there firsthand and seeing what he's like and how he is a part of the group, there's nothing like it. And he does it, in ways that you wouldn't expect. He might give up his first class seat, on a regular basis. Nobody would see that, but those are things he does to just kind of show that he's just one of the guys, and everybody else is as important as him in his mind. And that's just part of his leadership, and I think a big part of why he's, how he had so much success.
I mean, to be fair, though, Landon didn't exactly need the leg room. He wasn't the tallest guy on the team, right?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe he was just uncomfortable with all the extra space. That's a good point. Yeah, I think you might be onto something there.
How much MLS do you still get to watch? Have you seen any of the Galaxy games this year?
All the time. Yeah, I mean that's one of the fun things about being involved in the game, and obviously here in Sacramento we're on the doorstep of MLS, so it's front and center for me, and I love watching it. And no MLS team is more true to my heart than LA Galaxy, so I'm very, very up to speed.
Yeah, I was going to say, we can't let you go, and we wanted to keep it brief here, but we can't let you go without asking about Sacramento. They seem like they're right in the thick of the expansion bidding for the next round in MLS. Do you think you can get it across the line this time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are in a great position to join the league. We are enthusiastic about it. It's been a long time coming for the fans, for the city. This is only my second season here, and it's pretty cool to see how important, how big of a deal the club is to this city, and how big of a deal MLS is going to be when we get it. So yeah, we're knocking on the door. It's coming, and we can't wait to get it over the line. I know a lot of folks have put in a ton of work, and it's going to be great to have another team in California, add rivalries here, and it just keeps the game in this country just keeps getting bigger and better.
I was going to say that has to lead. If there's 4 teams, and San Diego name gets floated out there as well, so 4 teams or 5 teams in California, that has to lead to a California Cup at some point, right?
Yeah, I think start it up. I think I think it makes sense. We have the lead on that, so yeah, no, that's exciting, and we're in the capital here, so we can maybe we can take the lead on that.
Well, great. Well, Todd, we want to thank you as always for stopping by. I remember in 2009 covering you, in 2012 my first time in the press box, getting doused with champagne after MLS Cup 2012 by you especially, and you've always been great for this show. So we appreciate you stopping by. Wish you all the best, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Anytime, Josh. Thank you. Congrats on 700. Big time.
All right. Thanks, Todd. All right. There goes Mr. Todd Dunivant. somebody said, "Hey, it's Josh's man crush," and that is a ridiculous statement, although it's totally true.
I was going to say, if we would have guessed who the guests were going to be, that would have been top of my list.
That would have been top of your list. All right. Well,
knowing you,
Todd is great.
He's a class act all the way through,
and over there at Sacramento Republic. So it's always great to catch up and talk to him. And again, sort of looking at yesteryear and understanding what was going on in 2011. 2012, 2014, and trying to understand, what was different with those teams. And, the reason that I sort of picked the guys that I picked was I was trying to get a little taste of today, a little taste of yesterday, but not just yesterday for no reason, but yesterday from guys who won MLS Cups.
Yeah, people who are a fabric of this club, much like you.
Yes.
As the podcast is a fabric of the club.
I
like how you weaved it all together.
You did enjoy that. Did you like my landed on a short joke? That was
I'm always here for it.
Yes.
Anytime as a podcaster you can crack on an actual athlete. Yeah. It's always fun.
All right. Hey, before we get to our next guest, if you're watching the live stream and you see what is going on in your video, we have ridiculous looking and amazing beanies on our head right now.
I was going to say the wardrobe department worked overtime on today's show.
We have a lot of props in this show today. There's a lot of. I may or may not be holding a taco piñata that I bought because I wanted to be holding a taco piñata whenever I talked about these beanies and Cosmo, these Cosmo beanies. So no, I want to get a big shout out to Beanies by Bay _. If you follow them on Instagram, they have these adorable Cosmo beanies that I had to have, and I bought one for Eric too, so that way we could be twins.
I was going to say thank you.
Man twins, Cosmo twins. That's always nice.
First the sticker, now the beanies.
Yeah.
Is this like a quid pro quo thing that I need to worry about here?
Yes, I think you should be worried. No, pay you back for all those coffees that you could bring me.
Okay,
you didn't bring me one today.
Oh, I was going to say I'm still waiting on the sticker money to come in.
Yeah, the sticker money to roll in. But anyway, Beanies by Bay. BAE _ at the end. Beanies by Bay. They do a great job, and I love this beanie. I think it looks great. They're $25. They didn't give these to us. We bought these because I liked them so much.
And it's made by hand. And the cool thing about we got a little special customizable feature. COG on the back.
We did.
You can tell these are made with love by hand by Galaxy fans. So support our own and get some beanies. Cosmo, lovable figure. Put them on your head.
Yeah.
They're fun for the whole family.
Yeah.
Kids, parents, mascots. Everyone loved these things. So shout out to Beanies by Bay.
The chat room says you look better in that beanie. I think that
I look better in general. So, I'm not surprised by those comments. But yeah, sure.
I think this beanie is amazing. Anyway, so make sure you check out Beanies by Bay. Amazing job. Well, we're in the shout out sort of section as well. One of our big, I don't want to say fans, but one of our a good friend of the show. Let's call Sarah a friend of the show.
Oh, yes.
It was her birthday. And so we want to wish Sarah a very happy birthday as well. And I told her it would be on show 700 because she meets us at halftime and talks Galaxy with us constantly.
Yes.
So Sarah, very happy birthday.
Shout out to Sarah.
Big shout out. Shout out to Sarah.
Appreciate you, Sarah. Happy birthday.
And then I also want to give a big shout out to my buddy Luke, who came up and said hi to me halftime at the Montreal game. Luke and his dad listened to us in 1.5 times speed.
That's the way I listen to us.
Yeah,
I sound much better. So Luke, well done, smart man. Way to listen to it. You knock out the podcast a little bit faster.
Yes,
and it's pretty fun.
Well, Luke was saying he couldn't quite place our voices because we weren't talking really fast. And he was like, "Actually, you talk really slow." I'm like, "You're the first person to ever say that we talk slow." So let's see. Somebody in the chat room looking at Josh, I'm saying, "What's that on your head?" And then looking at Hammer, it's like, "Nice beanie." So do I look?
It's placement.
It's just.
Maybe is it the eyes? You got to make sure Cosmo.
I don't know.
Cosmo plays.
I don't know.
Anytime you can look like Cosmo.
It's a good day.
People are gonna be impressed.
And obviously, Cosmo loves tacos, which is why I got a taco piñata. I just want to point that out.
Does that need to be said?
Yes, I feel
okay.
Like,
if you don't know, Cosmo loves tacos,
and that's why I paid $15 for a taco piñata.
Well worth it. Now, if the taco piñata had tacos inside of it, that's wheels within wheels. Now we're talking. We're off the rails.
Now I'm hungry for tacos. But before we get too far, let's go to guest number 3. Still have a show to put on. Still have to tell you about Vancouver. It's coming, I promise. But I got 2 more guests for you, and I think they're still pretty good. All right, so let's get to guest super special surprise
who's it
guest.
gonna be?
Are we going old school? We're going
New
current?
school?
We're going current. Here we go.
Or both.
Special guest number 3. All right, another surprise guest here for show number 700. Joined the senior team LA Galaxy in 2015 after being promoted from LA Galaxy 2. Was on the team the last time the LA Galaxy were in the playoffs in 2016. He's a very good friend of the show and now has 3 starts in a row after not getting much playing time this year. Please welcome back to the show, like I said, a good friend of the show, Mr. Dave Romney. Dave, thanks for stopping by, buddy.
No problem. How's it going?
Doing good. Congratulations, by the way. LA Galaxy clinch a playoff spot with a 2-1 victory over Real Salt Lake. Tell me a little bit about that game and how you guys were able to get the win.
Yeah, really pumped about playoffs first and foremost. Haven't been back in I think 2 years or so it'll be fun to get back in the playoffs. And now that they're one-off games and there's no home and away, it's going to be really exciting. Hopefully, we can lock up the 2 or 3 seed and take it to LA.
Yeah, I mean, is that what's on your mind now? Obviously, making the playoffs was something that this team had a goal for, that you guys were trying to make the playoffs. That was the first step in this. I would imagine because you're the LA Galaxy, it's not just to make the playoffs, but, to make a run at that MLS Cup. But is the seeding that important this year that there's still a big focus on these last 2 games?
I definitely think so. I think us getting a 2 seed would be huge. I think if we got a 2 seed and if another team who had the LAFC side knocked them off, then we would potentially have home field the entire way to the final. So I think we're definitely taking these next 2 games really seriously, and hopefully we can lock up the highest seed possible.
What is the mindset for this club? I mean, again, like I mentioned, you guys said playoffs. That's what you wanted to get, but I have to imagine the sights are set higher than that.
Yeah, they definitely are. I mean, just the prestige of the club. It shouldn't be an achievement making the playoffs. I know it kind of seems like that just because we missed the last 2 years, but I don't think we should really pat ourselves on the back for making playoffs. I think everyone's sights are set on going far and hopefully winning the whole thing.
Yeah, you still got 2 games. Last home game coming up on Sunday against the Vancouver Whitecaps, a team who's already been eliminated from the postseason. The last game away to Houston, another team who has been eliminated for the postseason. I mean, do you guys look at this and say this is our chance to sort of make that move? You've won 3 in a row. Can you finish this out with 5 in a row?
I mean, that'd be ideal. I know Minnesota's ahead of us, and they have LAFC and Seattle ahead of them to play. So I definitely think we have the advantage on strength of schedule there, but we can't take any team lightly. Yeah, I don't know. Just we're really trying to win these next 2 games. I know Houston's always going to be a tough game away. They're always really good at home, but we definitely need to take care of business against Vancouver.
We talk about the defense and certainly the ups and downs of the defense this year. Being part of that defense, do you feel like you guys are starting to gain somewhat of an identity? Do you feel like there's progress being made on the defensive side of the ball?
Hopefully. I mean, we still haven't had a shutout in a while, but I think the way we've been playing the last couple of games, we've had more possession. We've kind of had more control of the game, and that definitely helps as a defender if you're not facing an attack all the time. So I think our midfield 3 has done a really good job at holding the ball and keeping possession. And then when we get it to our attacking trio, they're obviously talented enough to just create stuff out of nothing, which they've done the last 3 games perfectly.
Yeah. What does that feel like now? I mean, obviously with the addition of Christian Pavone, the offense has clicked and sort of turned up a whole bunch. Actually, since he came on, I think the Galaxy have scored 24 goals. Zlatan has scored 12 of those. He seems to be a reason for this sudden offensive surge.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, both the goals were just extra effort plays. Even the second goal against I can't even remember who we played last. The last home game, Montreal, was just an extra effort play, and then Tuna finished that one off. So, I mean, he's obviously really talented to beat guys one-on-one and finish, but I think his effort has been a really big bonus too.
Well, what does it mean to you? I know for a guy who hasn't always been getting the starting minutes in the starting games, and and the minutes have been sparse at times, getting spot starts here and there, but to now have started 3 games in a row, do you feel like you've sort of proved something to this coaching staff that you can be that solution at left back?
I mean, I'd like to think so. It's definitely hard getting spots here and there because you're not really in 90-minute game shape, but definitely felt a lot better this past game on just where your fitness is across 90 minutes. The first game, you start to feel kind of heavy in the second half and stuff like that, but felt pretty good for the most part throughout this whole game. So I definitely think getting 3 or 4 games in a row under your belt helps with just your confidence on the ball, on the field, but also just your game fitness, which carries out and helps every facet of your game.
I know it's been a condensed September, a lot of games, and still 2 games to go, and the short week with RSL and the victory there. Now the short week playing Vancouver, and then a week off until you play Houston at the end of the season. How's the mindset? How are the legs with everybody? How's everybody feeling now, looking at these last couple of games here?
I think everyone's legs are feeling decent. I mean, our training has been a little lighter, which definitely saves the legs, and then honestly, sometimes like for me personally, if you're in like a playing schedule, if I'm playing minutes and you kind of get the next day off and then a regen the next day, your legs kind of feel better. Mm-hmm. So I honestly feel better now than I did, say, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's those young legs, Dave. If I was trying to run out there, I'd be dead. All right, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, hey, we don't want to keep you too long. We want to thank you for calling in. Really appreciate it here on show number 700. All the best,
no
all the best of luck here down the stretch these last couple of games, and I'm sure we'll have you back on the show here as the LA Galaxy stretch towards the playoffs. All right?
Definitely. Yeah. Congrats on 700.
Thanks, Dave. We'll talk to you soon.
See you guys.
All right. All right, there goes Mr. Dave Romney. Dave Romney stopping by for show number 700, and Eric is trying to throw confetti around
that didn't work like I hoped.
What was that?
The microphone needs to start working. We're taking too much time off.
That's right.
The confetti did not go as planned.
You thought it was going to be...
I undershot it. No, that one didn't work either.
Yeah, that didn't...
All right, well, we tried. Again, you got to watch the live show to get these jokes.
We're having a good time. Anyway, so Dave Romney comes on the show. We're glad that we could talk to him. It's good to get that current sort of look from the team and from everything that's going on, from their perspective and how that was going. So getting Dave, and certainly getting Dave after he started 3 games, after he sort of cemented himself. Dave.
I was going to say that's a good get. I think someone in the chat room said Dave has saved us from the Norwegian traffic cone.
Norwegian traffic cone.
Well, that's a great nickname.
Poor Jorgen.
Poor Jorgen. I mean, but good for Dave.
Yeah, it is, and I don't know. It seems like the teams and coaches don't necessarily look at Dave as the starter, and then whenever they need him, he's there, and he goes in and he puts in shifts that he's been putting in.
He's a workman. He gets the job done. Maybe he's not going to be the one you run home and say, we got Dave Romney, but at the end of the day, he's someone who we're very thankful to have on this team right now.
Well, you know what I said? We got Dave Romney. That's what I said. Okay, so
that's why I set the confetti off.
I know. There is only one more special guest.
Oh, there's still more?
This is it.
Wow.
This is it. I mean,
impressive.
We still have to talk about Vancouver, which we're going to do.
Why are we here?
We're going to talk about the standings. We're going to do all that. But I don't know. For me, this one was kind of a big deal. A gentleman who was nice enough to fit us into a very busy last couple of days that he had.
Say, this is a good get.
So I don't know. Do you have any guesses? Oh wait, so you can't guess.
I was actually in the room for this one.
You were in the room for this one.
You turned my mic off, which was odd, but
that's fine. That's fine. I was like, no, Taki. So we have a great guest. So let's get to our final guest, and then we'll go ahead and get you ready for Vancouver and wrap up show number 700. So here it is, our last super special guest. All right, we have another surprise guest for show number 700. He joined the Galaxy in 2009. He won MLS Cups with the Galaxy in 2011 and 2012, earning the nickname Mr. November as he scored 3 playoff goals in each of those years. While with the Chicago Fire, he was named league MVP as he scored 21 goals in 2013. But with all of his offensive stats, he might best be immortalized for taking the goalkeeper gloves from a red-carded Josh Saunders at a game in San Jose and keeping a clean sheet. Please welcome back to the show Galaxy legend, Mr. Mike Magee. Mike, thanks for calling in, buddy.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I always feel a little cheap trying to say, hey, you might be best remembered for the goalkeeping performance, but that's the thing that probably lives in everybody's memories and will probably for the rest of our lives. Do you feel a little cheapened by that? You scored a lot of goals. You're an offensive player.
No, not at all. I don't care why people think of me. I'm just thankful to be part of the club. Thankful you're interviewing me, and that was an incredible day that was a great turning point in the season. So no, I'm proud as hell of that.
That's awesome. I should also say congrats on being inducted into the Chicagoland Sports Hall of Fame last night. We get you exactly almost 24 hours removed from that. So congratulations on that as well.
Thank you. You guys would be glad to know they put me in a Galaxy jersey on the plaque. I thought that was interesting.
That is nice. That is, you know what? That is. People will get a kick out of that for sure. All right, let's get into a little bit of some of these questions. If I asked you what it felt like to come to the Galaxy in 2009 to join back up with Bruce Arena, do you remember that time and sort of what that team felt like whenever you joined them?
Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was actually a point in my career where I was thinking about retiring. I really wanted to play for the Fire. Unfortunately, they didn't really want me. And I think for about a week or 2 weeks, I actually was done. Told my family I was done. Had some injuries, and then when Bruce Arena called me, you can't really say no. And moving to LA, playing with Landon and Beckham was something I wasn't really willing to pass up. So it was almost like a second shot at life for me.
Yeah, I mean, really that close to calling it quits, and then the sort of run you had with the Galaxy, it was maybe a 50-50 call at that point.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to be dramatic. That was it. Before Bruce called up, Toronto tried trading for me, and I told them I was going to be done playing. And yeah, I'm not trying to be dramatic at all, but up until Bruce Arena's call, it was, that was probably it.
Yeah. Okay. So now your 2009 obviously doesn't end the way that the Galaxy hoped it had. Maybe it sets everything up for 2010, 2011, and 2012. Whenever you look at it, but being part of that 2010, 2011 team, I talked to Todd Dunivant earlier, and sort of he said 2011 was one of the best teams he's ever played on. Was there a certain attitude those teams had, that 2010, 2011, 2012 team, that was different from other teams that you had been on?
The difference was, and we weren't even always playing the best soccer. The difference was the manner in which we played for each other. We covered for each other and fought for each other. We were all best friends, and it was just a bizarre group. And we had guys. Landon Donovan was the most talented player this country's ever seen. And most of the videos we watch in our sessions would be him tracking back 80 yards to stick up for a teammate. So it was almost as we had better teams, but we were comfortable defending. So it was just a bizarrely good group with a bizarre work rate and good human beings. And it's really hard to describe how special that year was.
Yeah, it was special watching it too. You could tell, being around the team at that time, that there was something special going on. We go now to your success in the playoffs, Mr. November. You get that because you scored 3 goals in 2011. You scored 3 goals in 2012 playoffs, leading up to those MLS Cups. The Galaxy now qualified for the playoffs, so they're going to be in the playoffs, and the pressure obviously gets ratcheted up once you get to that postseason. But that never seemed to affect you. Why didn't it affect you? You seemed to play better in those positions.
I think maybe I was enjoying the summers in Manhattan Beach a little too much, and then when playoffs would come, I turned it on. No, it was the club and the fans and my teammates. They did so much for me, and that's the time when you can reward them. So I feel like I'd always get up for big games, and all the things the club did for us, we knew we had to repay them. So the fans were literally there to thick and thin, and that was the time to say thanks.
Do you have a favorite Galaxy memory? If you go back and you're reminiscing about not playing soccer, you're like, hey, I'm not playing soccer right now. I wish I was playing soccer. Is there one memory you go back to with the Galaxy or with anybody else that sort of cements, gives you a happy feeling about what you did?
You mean soccer wise?
Yeah.
Well, that first MLS Cup, I think that was my, 10th year in the league. And we had all just worked so hard, and, it was my 10th year, and, you not at this point, you're not sure if you're ever going to win one. When that whistle blew, it was just, everything was worth it, going back to being a kid and, running up and down stairs and 9 surgeries and, everything in literally one moment, one whistle blow just becomes worth it. And it was crazy.
Yeah, Todd said that it's nice thinking back about soccer because you remember the good times and not the bad times. Do you find yourself doing that as well?
Well, it's crazy. So if I never played for the Galaxy, if my career ended in 2010 or whatever, I'd be that guy blaming. When people ask my career, I'd blame injuries and be that bitter dude making up excuses why my career didn't go well. So, when things go well, it's obviously the opposite. So yeah, I know what Todd's saying.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll let you go here. We don't want to keep you too long, but certainly the Sneaky Fox vodka. I wanted to ask, as a fun way to sort of end this, do you have a favorite way to drink it, or is there a preferred way to drink it, Mike?
I'm supposed to say straight, right? It's so good. It's so good. You got to drink it straight. You guys would actually like to know the reason I even got in the business was Todd Dunivant, Omar, Landon. We take our win bonuses and we buy stupidly expensive whiskeys and bourbons that we'd only drink them after wins. So I got nostalgic towards that. When my career was over, I wanted to create a spirit. So this was 100% generated by winning with the Galaxy.
That's an awesome story. That's a perfect way to end it. Well, Mike, we want to thank you for coming on. Glad to talk to you again. I know a lot of Galaxy fans. You're number one in their hearts. So thanks for coming on for show number 700.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Congrats.
All right. Thanks, Mike. All right, Mr. Mike Magee, Mr. November, Magee is on fire.
A legend, a club legend.
He is a club legend.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it.
By the way, had never, and I consider myself fairly well read on most of former Galaxy players, and for guys who I covered for a long time, had never heard the story that Mike Magee was just about ready to retire whenever Bruce Arena calls him in 2009 and says, "Hey, come play for the Galaxy."
And that he turned down other teams.
And he's like, "Hey, Toronto, that's thank you." To be honest, I'd retire instead of going to Toronto as well. But
I wonder if there's like a statute of limitations type thing where maybe he couldn't share that story before, but now, after some Sneaky Fox vodka, he's good to share those stories.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he could still be on his post-induction Hall of Fame,
feeling
sort of
good.
hot. Yeah, he could still be partying from that. But anyway, no, Mike Magee. Big quick shout out to the LA Galaxy, especially Brendan Hannon, Vicky Mercado, Chris Glidden, Chris Hibble, for helping me secure all of these interviews and for getting everybody on in order and quickly. So they do a great job there.
It's an all-star team over there.
I know that sometimes we're a little harsh on them, but they really went above and beyond for show number 700. So a big shout out to them because that was absolutely wonderful. All right, do you want to do a little bit more talking now?
I was going to say, what are we? Hour and 15 minutes in?
Yeah, why not?
Let's get back to the soccer, as they like to say.
The LA Galaxy currently sitting in third position. Just sitting behind Minnesota, who's in second position, and then, of course, LAFC up at top, clinched that supporter shield, so they will have the first round bye. We already know that. But all the other spots beneath them are completely up for grabs. And with the LA Galaxy, a definite possibility to continue eating up those spots. They could finish as high as second. They could probably finish as low as maybe sixth if they don't win
I think
the next
that's the range. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see them drop to 7. But again, staying in second and third is important because of those home playoff games. I think if you get fourth place, you get a home playoff game. But second or third, you could end up with multiple home playoff games, and I think that's the goal. Obviously, you're not going to get a home playoff run all the way through, but if things bounce right, depending on which team comes through on the East, finishing in the standings up high is important.
It is. The Galaxy, obviously, with what I think everybody considers the easiest schedule to finish this out, with Vancouver, who's eliminated, with Houston, who are eliminated.
Yep.
And against they're not good teams. Eric was angry Vancouver was even coming this weekend.
I was going to say, it makes you nervous though, because the big games, they get up for it. But when, last place Houston came into town at the end of last season, we saw what happened. Last place Vancouver coming into town with high playoff seeds, it just makes you feel a little bit nervous. But then you look at the roster and you say it's Vancouver. They're in last place. They're eliminated. They have nothing to play for. Their highest goal scorer is Freddie Montero with 8 goals.
Right.
I mean, and Ali Adnan, the king of the Panenka.
Yes.
If you remember the game in Vancouver.
Yeah, he missed that one. He missed that save, David Bingham.
I don't know if you even clarified that as a miss. That was really bad. It was botched. So I don't feel nervous about this Vancouver team, but maybe that's why I feel nervous, is because I don't feel nervous.
Yeah, the LA Galaxy, obviously, the seeding is important. You heard Dave Romney talking about, wanting to get that 2 and 3, and then being on the other side. The 2 would be huge, being on the other side of bracket of LAFC, which sets up either a Western Conference final between those two teams, which, I mean, if I had a wish, knowing that I would imagine that those two teams are going to meet at some point in the playoffs, if I had a wish, I want that game at the Western Conference final.
I'm gonna say it out loud because we're known to jinx things.
Yes.
It just, everyone getting excited for it. The Galaxy clinching a playoff spot, the other team clinching their spot if they don't make it to the next round
to the Western Conference. Yeah,
if they both get knocked out just the way things are going, that seems like that'd be poetic as well.
It's
again, but now that I said it out loud, I've reverse jinxed it.
You reverse jinxed it. Okay, all right. We'll see how that goes. Again, the LA Galaxy, just 2 games remaining. The playoffs will start on either October 19th or October 20th. A whole bunch of scheduling going on right now. I'm really hoping it's the 20th. I'm just going to tell you right now. Hoping it's the 20th because I'm on a plane on the 19th, which I should be able to make back for a late game, but an early game might not. Maybe anyway. We'll just see. We'll see how it goes.
We'll call MLS headquarters.
That's right. I'll put it in a request.
Get Bobby Warshaw on the case.
All right. Would you like to do a dramatic intro? Are you ready?
We've run long. I don't know. Do we have time? Do I keep it short and sweet?
Do we have time? We have nothing but time, my friend. 700 shows, you're allowed to linger a little bit.
All right, let's do it. I'm ready. I'm always ready.
LA Galaxy versus Vancouver Whitecaps coming up on Sunday. Here we go.
Your Los Angeles Galaxy have booked their place in the 2019 MLS Cup playoffs, but their job isn't done yet. This Sunday, the last home match of the regular season, our boys in blue, white, and gold take on the lowly Vancouver Whitecaps. History can be made this Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Make your way to the beautiful Dignity Health Sports Park and be a witness to greatness. The team can match their highest home win total ever. Christian Pavone can net his very first goal at the Diggity, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic can set the net ablaze in pursuit of the Golden Boot. A wise man once said, "Don't peak too soon." And with 2 games left in the regular season, with a top seed in the Western Conference up for grabs that can ensure multiple home playoff games, all I have to say is, it's time to start peaking.
Ooh, it's time to start peaking. All right, Hammer's got everybody fired up. We're good. I think
Let's
that's
go.
it. Let's go. Let's head to the
Let's
stadium.
go. Bring on Freddie Montero's Vancouver Whitecaps.
Let's Freddie Montero. That's
right. Strikes fear into your heart, right?
Freddie
With
Montero.
absolutely no offense to Freddie Montero. But I'm offending you.
Better soccer player than me.
Yeah.
Better soccer player than you.
He would have put away Antuna's goal.
Yeah, well, I mean, so would you apparently. I mean, Katie Nolan.
Again, someone's going to fact check me on that.
Katie
Someone
Nolan
who's played with me will back me up.
Would if she could just come in and take care of you out on the field and trying to have you make that. I would love to see it anytime.
I'm not touching that comment.
Anytime. Let's see how it goes. All right, the LA Galaxy against the Vancouver Whitecaps coming up on Sunday. Again, Galaxy 16-13-3. Vancouver Whitecaps 7-15-10, and just 2-9-5 on the road for Vancouver. Who'd they beat?
I was going to say their 2 wins on the road are at Colorado, which I think was a storm game. There was a snowstorm or something weird was going on, and it was at FC Cincinnati, which everyone wins at FC Cincinnati. So if those are the only 2 times they've won on the road, coming into a red-hot LA Galaxy team, I don't know that the Vancouver Whitecaps could feel good about how they're doing.
Vancouver Whitecaps, unbeaten in their last 2 games,
Ooh,
Mr. Eric,
unbeaten
the
in their
Portuguese
last
Hammer.
2.
They had a win and a draw in their last 2 games. Other than that, there hasn't been a lot of winning on there. The Galaxy 3 wins in a row. Obviously, the last win at RSL 2-1. And so the last win for Vancouver was 9-14 versus Houston at home. You talked about Freddie Montero being the leading goal scorer with 8, Ali Adnan with 5 assists, Zlatan Ibrahimovic 28 goals, chasing down Carlos Vela. Christian Pavone with 7 assists and 2 goals.
It's impressive. I was looking at the Golden Boot winners of previous years. Zlatan Ibrahimovic with 28. Every year except for last year, he would have won Golden Boot. Obviously, Joseph Martinez with 31, but it's pretty impressive that any other year, had Joseph Martinez not had the year that he had, he would have had enough to win Golden Boot. So impressive.
If we're looking at injuries for this game for the LA Galaxy, it still seems like Kitchen is suffering from by the way, I think we finally figured out the translation.
It was a translation thing.
It's
we knew that all the whole time, but it's fun to say it's a pelvis.
It's a pelvis.
Injury.
It's a pelvis.
It's a
groin.
word.
It's a groin. Pelvis, groin, same thing, apparently.
A pelvic region injury.
Yeah.
If it were a hockey, it's a lower body injury.
Yeah, I have not heard much. I mean, I know he's getting closer. I still don't think he's going to be available in this game, so I wouldn't expect that. Ramon Alessandrini, they've walked back him being available for this game as well. I think at this point, you don't see Ramon Alessandrini until the playoffs, quite honestly, and he may be on the bench coming off the playoffs.
At this point, do you bother bringing him in?
You do.
Does it mess things up?
Because you said, what did you just talk about whenever we were talking about the game against
RSL?
That
options
team.
Off the bench. That's true. I guess coming off injury, Alessandrini off the bench is better than Sorry, Servando. Then Servando Carrasco coming to save you off the bench.
It could, if they need offense, you bring in Alessandrini, you let him run, and you can do it. It's again, if he's healthy. If he's not healthy, you don't.
Even if it's as a decoy.
You don't bring him back. Fabio Alvarez was a possibility for this Vancouver game. GBS said earlier in the week that he might be looking at coming back in this game. However, Fabio Alvarez currently doesn't have a starting position, so he could come off the bench, which is a good place for them to be as well.
That could be a spark, depending on how he's feeling and how healthy he is. But I think right now, with Sebastian Lletget and Jonathan Dos Santos and Joe Corona, you don't disrupt that.
No, you leave exactly where it's going. You let this momentum continue to build. And again, you win against Vancouver, 4 wins in a row. You win against Houston, 5 wins in a row. Now you're just 4 more wins away from
a 9-game winning streak?
I mean, that's what you're going to have to do.
That'd be bold.
This isn't a playoff situation where you can go in and lose the game and then do it on the return. There's no losing in the playoffs.
That's peaking. Looks like peaking to me, 9-win streak.
Ooh. Wow, that's a lot of wins. It's almost like one of those, we talk about it all the time, the roulette wheel.
Yeah.
It's too many reds. It's too many, landed on red too many times. It's going to land, and that's, unfortunately with MLS and it being sort of this very balanced league, anybody can beat anybody. So
that's the truth. And when you look at Vancouver, you look at who just won the Supporters Shield, one of their wins, Vancouver is against the Supporting Shield winning team. Yeah. So anyone literally can beat anyone. And that's the good thing about MLS, and that's the troubling thing about MLS as well.
All the Eastern Conference teams will kick off at 2 p.m. Pacific time this weekend. All right, 2 p.m. That's all the Eastern Conference teams. All the Western Conference teams kick off at 4:30 Pacific time.
So it's like a conference decision day type schedule.
Yes, it is. And then what will happen is everybody will then go and do, I think, a 1:30 kickoff Pacific time on the following Sunday. All teams, everybody, all the same time. So get your split screens out if you're going to be watching that and see how many games you can watch at one time.
And with that early schedule, bring your sunscreen to the Diggity this Sunday.
It'll be a fun one to sort of watch. All this stuff is going to be interesting. Again, all these wins improve the seeding. The Galaxy are already in the playoffs, but clearly they want to finish on a high. You heard Dave Romney say it. They want to finish on a high. Everything is trending towards this. All right.
Do you want to know what 538 says?
I do want to know what 538 says.
First thing, 538 does have power rankings on where they expect teams to finish. So Galaxy have been around, third or fourth, fifth or sixth, depending on when you look at this. But right now, 538 has the LA Galaxy as the second best team as the West, projected to get that number 2 spot. So that's one aspect of 538 that's interesting. And then when you look at this weekend's game with the game prediction, the Galaxy have a 78% chance to win the game.
Too high.
The highest win percentage of the weekend if you look at the whole slate of MLS matches.
Too high.
14% chance for a tie, 9%, single digits for Vancouver.
Too low. It's MLS. That's too low.
Makes you uneasy, right?
Yeah.
It's a gimme. It should be a gimme.
So then gimme your score then.
3-0 Galaxy.
3-0.
Bingham finally gets a shutout. The Galaxy could handle this Vancouver offense led by the great Freddie Montero.
I thought you were going to say the late great Freddie Montero. I'm like, he's not dead. He's just in Vancouver.
Freddie Montero Memorial Coliseum. Yeah, shout out to him.
I will say that it is another 2-1 victory for the LA Galaxy. Clean sheets are so passé. Just you don't need them. Who cares?
You get a goal. It's Oprah. You get a goal. You get a goal. Everybody gets a goal.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right. I think that about does it. Before we get done, I wanted to make sure I took a second and thanked a whole bunch of people because you don't make it to 700 shows just by doing it yourself. I mean, it's true. The only person who have made appearances in all 700 shows is me. That's a trivia question for later. For
impressive.
700 shows. But, I've had amazing co-hosts and so many fun people that I've got to share time with. Eric's just the latest, and eventually he'll get tired of me, or I'll get tired of him, and I'll be like, you can't come anymore.
It's like when, you're like the Elizabeth Taylor. You go through, spouses like no other.
This is true.
I'm just happy to be here.
This is true. True. My ex-wife would agree with you. But no. So there's been great. Obviously, Jared Dubois and Corey Ritzow, guys who helped me sort of start this, and it was Jared and I doing half-hour shows whenever we started this. Half-hour shows as we approach 90 minutes.
Our guests wouldn't have made it in half an hour.
No, they wouldn't. So we did that. Jared and I, learned how to podcast. Basically, if I played you some of the old stuff, you guys would all be turning it off. I listened to some of them and like, no, that's not good. But we learned it, and we learned how to do it. And Jared, is so amazingly entertaining, and so quick on his feet that he taught me to be quicker, and he taught me to be, semi-entertaining at least.
And as a listener, yeah, he's definitely a favorite when he comes on. It's always great.
Upper level talent in terms of why somebody hasn't got him doing something professionally with that, I don't know. But anyway, so Jared Dubois. Corey Ritzow was great. Helped me around the press box, especially in 2012 whenever I was first in there. So Corey's been great. You talk to like Wendy Thomas, who was great in here. We've had all sorts of sort of guest hosts. You talk about Larry Morgan, Kevin Baxter. Just the guys who put in all the work and always say yes. You even have Sophie Nicolau now who's in there, giving it her all. We've had Delmy Barrias in here as well. And it's just people that I've enjoyed talking to and have come in and given their all. And especially the Hammer too. It's not always fun to do these every single week, regardless of what happens. Sometimes you have other things in your life going on. But whenever the Hammer gets here, it's always fun. All right. Yeah.
It's always a good time.
It's always a good time.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So we always have a great time. But again, the LA Galaxy over the years have been great too. I've gotten to talk to amazing people: Nigel DeYoung, Ashley Cole, Mike Magee, Todd Dunivant, Omar Gonzalez, David Beckham. You start to go back and you look at it and you say, I've been in places I should never have been allowed to be. How
did I get here?
Yeah. Plenty of times. Paul Stanley from Kiss. I met Paul Stanley from Kiss. Why should I ever meet Paul Stanley from Kiss? That shouldn't have definitely happened.
That's not even podcast related.
That's
it's
the
not. Funny thing.
It's just like, and he comes over. Oh, hey, I'm Paul Stanley. Hey, Paul Stanley from Kiss. Cool. Yeah, you can. And that was about chicken wings, by the way. Yeah,
awesome.
I know, just crazy stuff. So I've got to do so many amazing things, and without the listeners who are amazing, you keep me going. You feed me. You make me angry, which also makes me more fun on the podcast, I think. So keep up the great work for all of you. So from the bottom of my heart, from 700 shows, thank you to all of you as well. So I think that about does it. Are you good?
Well done. They're very well said. It's hard to top that, so I'm not going to try.
You're just going to shut up. that would be something new. I could hit the mute button and we could do it. I would very much like it if you could tell everybody where they could find you first.
You can find me on Twitter at GISHammer. The quest for 1K is still on. Kevin Baxter of the LA Times is now following me. So what the heck are you waiting for? So you can also follow me on Instagram at Galaxy Profile. That's Galaxy Profoul. And stay tuned for a post-season Hammer in the Wild video.
Ooh, my Hammer in the Wild. All right, if you're looking for me on Twitter at JGuesman, JGUESMAN, at Galaxy Podcast, of course. You can find me on Twitter there as well, and head on over to the website, cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can find our stickers there in the shop. You can find scarves. You can find all sorts of fun stuff. Our articles, our podcasts, our videos, all that stuff is right there for you. All right, that does it for show number 700. We'll do another 100 next year. We'll be back here for show 800, and I think we'll have to find more props, more confetti, and more everything else. All right, for Eric the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I'm Josh Gessman, and you've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast, and be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. And for all of your independent LA Galaxy news, discussion, and entertainment, including this podcast, head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. Fans, thanks for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.